I'm here this afternoon with Kim Hobbs. I've known Kim for quite a few years now, I think.
Played football together?
Yeah, I think you were a ferocious left back. Is that right?
Yeah, left midfield, yeah.
Left side.
Yeah, exactly.
Very committed, if I remember.
I think that's right.
Kim is the CEO and co-founder, along with Joe Hobbs, of Cornergate Foundation, which is an amazing local Christian charity that works with prisoners and ex-offenders in the local community. And so this afternoon, we're just going to chat about all things Cornergate and just find out a little bit about Kim, about what Cornergate is all about, and also how you can get involved in supporting this amazing work. Kim, just to begin with, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, just for those people that don't know anything about you?
Sure, thank you. So I'm Kim Hobbs. I will be 60 next birthday. Married to Joe, as you say, we're both co-founders of Cornergate Foundation. I have two grown-up sons, one of whom, my oldest boy, has 3 daughters.
Wow.
So we are grandparents and very thrilled and blessed to have grandchildren. Yes, so I used to work in the law, the legal profession as a business manager.
Yeah.
And in 2012, 2013, I was in my last appointment in that career, because in that time I discovered that when auditing client files, I would find that in criminal law we might see the same client not just once or twice, but 20 or 30 times.
Wow.
And that really bothered me. Joe and I went away to summer festivals every year, and that particular year we went to a summer festival, and it was very clear that God was calling us out into full-time ministry. And we didn't know why, but it was kind of obvious my career in law was coming to an end, or in the legal sector was coming to an end. And so we were just asking God, what is it that we need to be doing? We did decide that, yes, I was going to go at my job. Yes, we were going to sell the house. God was calling us. But it was only in that time when we started to knock on doors. And it was, in fact, my wife, my very wise, good lady wife, who, when I was dithering and not sure what to do, she said, why don't you knock on the door of the local prison? Try, see what might come from it. And I did, and I set up a meeting with a lady manager there. And the amazing thing was, first of all, it turned out she was a Christian, and we set up a fantastic friendship all the while she was working in that prison for several years. But also that day, when I met her for the first time, she took me from the admin block through the electronic doors and into the prison itself. And when that door clanged behind me, just like you see on television programs, when that electronic door clanged behind me, I felt God tap me on the shoulder and speak to me in what I would say was an audible voice. And he said, Kim, get used to this. This will be home from home. And in fact, I think I can honestly say that I have been as regular in that prison as pretty well any other volunteer. I have done so many things in that prison in the last 6 or 8 years. I was actually at one time chair of Friends of the Mount Prison, which was a local initiative to break down the barriers between the community and the prison. So I kind of become furniture there. That's God's doing, not mine.
So when did you start going into the local prison?
So that was 2013, and yeah, I had that first meeting, and this lovely lady, this lady manager, said to me, so Kim, you need to apply for your security pass. So it'll take about 3 months. I think 10 days later I'd got my security pass, and a couple of weeks after that I was drawing keys.
Oh, wow.
It was just incredible how God opened the doors.
I was going to ask you what the work of Cornergate, now that it's moved on from those days in, 7, 8 years ago when you first started, what the work of Cornergate looks like today, what sort of things are you involved with on a day-to-day basis?
It is very much primarily one-to-one work with guys and girls who've been referred to us or approached us directly, or family has contacted us and said, this guy or that guy, this girl, that girl need help. Can you help them? Probation contact us. Police and the prison directly themselves have. We will either work with somebody in prison as they prepare to be released, and then maybe meet them as they come out through the gates and help them in their first days and weeks as they're released. Or we would meet a guy or girl who's been released weeks, months, years ago, but really hasn't resettled well. And we do this thing that we call befriending mentoring.
You've already mentioned that a lot of the work that you do is this befriender and mentoring role. Can you just tell me on a day-to-day basis, what does that actually look like? What does it mean to befriend someone? What does it mean to walk alongside them? What type of help do these people actually need?
I do an awful lot of listening. If somebody sits down with me, I will listen to them for the vast majority of, say, an hour over a cup of coffee. Sit down in a cafe, they'll tell me their life story, they'll tell me the things they're worried about. But yeah, so we're listening, we're learning about them, and then we are exploring with them. Right. What would you want to do in this situation? And if I've got an idea, well, I can sense that they don't know what to do next. I say, well, have you thought about this, or have you thought about that? But can you see I'm actually putting an opportunity in front of them, an option in front of them, and I'm saying to them, which do you prefer? And then as they say, well, that seems to be the way to go, they may not articulate it quite like that, but in whatever way they move, I will then say, well, have you thought about that? So what we're doing is, you're very much just an older brother or an older sister, listening to them and then suggesting and then responding. It's that kind of conversation. You might meet them once a week, twice a week. It will be a formal or an informal basis as you want to do that. But as long as I always say we lead with love and care, and then practical care. We simply want to help Johnny or Mary progress with their life in the best possible way, and for them to feel happier, more confident, with a sense of belonging, a sense of self-worth, a sense of achievement and aspiration. All those things that you and I probably take for granted, but I can tell you from experience that most prisoners have little understanding of.
When we were chatting earlier, Kim, you mentioned that there's a new initiative that you've started in the local prison. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that? Yeah, I'm really excited about this. It's actually started midsummer, and it's a debate club, and it's on one particular wing, the older gentlemen in the prison. We go in there early evening for an hour, and we just talk to them about censorship, about emotions, about morals within society. It could be anything. I really want to talk to the guys about brotherhood. I want to talk to them, and we've touched on the subject of forgiveness. Can you imagine talking about something like that with prisoners, ex-offenders? The point of the debate club for me is I want to build trust with these guys. I want to meet them on the wings during the week when I go in to visit at other times. And hopefully in those times build a friendship, which might then mean that when they do come out, they want the help of Cornergate with their resettlement. And perhaps at some point on the line, they will want to talk about faith. Yeah, no, that's amazing. Are there some common challenges that you find people that are coming out of prison or are already out of prison have when they try and build a life again back in the community? That's really a great question, because in fact the government themselves have identified what they call 7 pathways to that if a prisoner ex-offender walks down those pathways, they're likely to reoffend. And that is lack of accommodation, lack of a job, issues with addictions,
physical and mental health challenges not being met, relationships, particularly family relationships, financial issues, debt and so on, and decision making. Those are the 7 pathways that they know that we must address with an ex-offender, or he or she will reoffend. Now, so essentially that answers your question, but I would say there's something a bit more subtle than that. Most prisoners and ex-offenders will suffer from, I'm going to say most, I think statistically we can support that, have mental health conditions and or addiction issues. Certainly in our experience, the vast majority will have those things going on in their lives somewhere. What I find is that actually there's something beyond the 7 pathways, and that is that I think in our experience, this is what we've observed over 8 years, they lack solid relationships, a sense of belonging, a sense of aspiration. Yeah, I can make something of my life. Many prisoners and ex-offenders have really lost hope. We think, I would suggest that we typically think that people in prison are scary and dangerous and we shouldn't go near them. Yeah. Let me tell you, they would so appreciate our friendship. They would welcome it. And when I go and meet prisoners and ex-offenders, I genuinely am thoroughly privileged to meet them. They are amazing people who've lived some really horrible lives and done some stupid and horrible things, some of them. But nevertheless, I'm sure as Christians, we understand what forgiveness is about and what Jesus meant by 70 times 7, and we need to give these people a second chance. So this lack of belief in themselves and this lack of belonging, we need to talk to these people, befriend them, and help them to rebuild those.
So in terms of that beginning to listen and understand what the needs and aspirations of these individuals are, does that also extend to offering practical help? For instance, if someone has to go to a court appearance, would you go with them? Or in filling out forms or signposting them to different agencies, is that part of your role?
What we do. That's been my choice, my personal choice. A volunteer may choose to do this or not do this, but I would say if somebody is facing a housing issue and needs to see a housing case officer and they don't feel confident doing that, I would ask them, would you like me to come with you to a housing meeting? And then you would go alongside with them. Obviously, you then have to explain your presence to the case officer and so on. But I can tell you that local authority housing people are perfectly willing for anyone to attend with the client, as long as the client says they want them there. So we do that. I've been along to probation meetings, as you say. I've been to court hearings. I've spoken up in court for some of our service users.
So your practical support really is trying to help these individuals on their journey of overcoming the difficulties and challenges. I mean, you mentioned 7 earlier, but there must be many others that they're facing to start a new life. But as you say, there are so many people in the system that end up, unfortunately, on a treadmill.
David, you're quite right, because one of the pathways, the last one I mentioned, was decision making. I think that the government calls it decision making, but I would say it's an inability to articulate what they want, to even know what they want, to say what they want, and to go and actually seek to achieve what they want. So that's why we wrote our course for the prison called You Hear Me. And that course is all about exploring aspiration, a sense of belonging, self-worth, forgiveness, confrontation, these soft skills, these life skills that we all need in order to negotiate life well. I don't think the government or the government agencies have really addressed those very well. So we're trying to do that through this course.
I realised that whole process of trying to walk alongside someone can sometimes not be easy. I assume that one of the key ingredients that's needed is a desire from someone to say, yes, I want to change. Sometimes, that must be, challenging to walk alongside someone like that.
Yeah. I always say, I am not here to judge whether somebody should be in prison or not. You know, society makes that decision. They go through the courts, they get given a sentence, and I believe that if somebody does the crime, they should do the time that society says. But after that, we should give them every opportunity to find a new life, and we need to help them in that process. As you say, having gone to prison, many people have lost hope and have now no aspiration beyond just going around that system again. I'll go out, I'll steal another car, I'll make a bit more money, I'll get going, and I'll just think about what's going on today and tomorrow. Maybe I'll get high, maybe I'll get myself out of my face on alcohol, or maybe I'll, keep the car. It's short-term thinking. That means that they are really they're in that inevitable spiral. What we're saying to them in that conversation that we will start before they leave prison is, hey, have you ever thought that you're better than that? You can do more than that. And we're here to help you do that if you want to. And that's very much the message. And as I say, I will chip in at the end of it, I'm a Christian. And then if they continue the conversation with me over the weeks and months afterwards, I'm in a position, or any of my colleagues are in a position, to tell them about Jesus. And that is the joy. And we have seen people completely turn their lives around and come to know Jesus. What could be better than that?
Even though obviously you're a Christian charity, it's quite clear that your work is driven by your faith and by your passion and by the fact that you see that God loves every single person, that he wants to give them hope and find value and purpose in their life.
We are all the volunteers of Cornergate are followers of Jesus. We did this because God called us. So everything, I'm very clear with anyone I meet that I'm a Christian, that I know that God loves me and I know that he loves you too. And I will tell everybody that, so that gives me a freedom to talk about faith further down the line if that's appropriate. We are passionate about the fact that these guys and girls should have the opportunity to change their lives and maybe know Jesus. If they don't choose to follow Jesus, that doesn't change one bit of how we work with them. We simply continue to care for them, love them, give them support. And I have to say, believe it or not, these people are easy to love. They are easy to love. When they openly and honestly tell you their story, my heart goes out to them, I have to tell you. I do believe that God gives us, I want to say, an enlarged heart and a greater patience with dealing with them, because they are, bless them, they can be massively chaotic. But for us, what we're looking for is people to believe in themselves, have a better life, and have the opportunity to hear the gospel of Jesus. That's the top and bottom of it. And I know that there are Christians out there who would love to help us in this work.
So you've mentioned that it's sometimes a challenging process. Things happen along the way that maybe make your work more difficult than working with other people, just simply because of the nature of the experiences and the lives that these guys are living. But, give me a little bit of an insight into what success actually looks like for you when you are working alongside these people.
Two quick stories. One is, I still consider it success, but it's got a long way to go. A guy we started to work with, referred to by one of the criminal justice agencies, met his girlfriend. There was a particular family situation that was really, really challenging for them. They didn't have a clue what to do. We built a bit of a relationship because of that, the work that I did with them in that very traumatic time. What I didn't appreciate, or certainly I didn't appreciate the seriousness of the fact that this lad was actually going to face court again. There was a court hearing. That court hearing sent him back to jail for a considerably longer period than he thought it was going to. Okay. So here I am. He's on our books. We're looking after him, supporting him, but yet he's gone back to jail. Well, of course it wasn't. If you look at it, we started dealing with him only after that it was already scheduled to go to court. Nevertheless, it was frustrating. But in the meantime, I can communicate with him, and I might visit him, but also I can do practical things for him in the community, and I am happy to do that, to build something that when he comes out he wants to change his life. Wow. I still see that as success because I am seeing progress from the way he's engaging with me now to the way he was engaging with me before. A couple of other situations, well, guys who started with us in 2015 have now been sober, having been daily alcoholic and regularly in trouble with the police. I mean, one of the guys I'm talking about, we used to be in trouble with the police every week and went to jail several times. He's now been sober 4 years plus. Wow. And has got a job and is doing tremendously well, following Jesus. Really lovely man. And he's a big help to us as we go forward. Yeah. Another guy is also dealt with his alcohol addiction. We helped him through detox, and he has been sober, I think, 5 years. So really exciting. Has a job and is pushing on with his life. But oh my goodness, when you see someone even make a small step towards freedom, towards a better life, it is the most exciting. I've loved spending time with people in their addiction struggles when they've made a breakthrough. And we do see that, and we are thankful to God for it. So I guess anytime anyone makes a change, that's the most exciting day.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you're thinking of for the future? Have you got anything that you're excited about as you look forward into the next year or two?
So one of the things that we do a lot of work one-to-one mentoring, but I'm also aware that we really need to have group activities, and we've had them before, group activities that mean that people can come to an event and get a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose together. They can tell each other of their struggles and tell each other of their successes and just rub off on each other. One of the things that we've learned from our experience is that people grow by caring for others. People grow in their own sense of self-worth and their own aspiration and their own courage and determination by coming alongside you and seeing what your issues and challenges are and just comforting and supporting you. So we want a group activity where people can do that. Addicts can do that for addicts. Ex-offenders can do that for ex-offenders. So one of the things that my dream is, subject to having the right number of volunteers to help us and so on. But one of the things we would like to do is set up this activity, but I'm calling it, just characterising it as a kind of alpha for ex-offenders. Wow. In the sense of food, worship, preach or talk, ministry, family. That's really what on an evening, midweek evening. Wow. Where that will be, how we will structure that, I really don't know. But that's something that's just in the back of my mind. I'm just starting to talk to people about, but that's something that maybe people could tell me they want to be part of.
That sounds amazing. I wonder whether you could just share with us different ways that people might be able to support the work of Cornergate in the future for those that might be interested.
Well, the first thing we would really ask you for is prayer. We really, really do need to pray for our prisons, pray for prison staff, probation officers, police, pray for our criminal justice system. It is regarded one of the best criminal justice systems in the world, but there are issues always. Yeah. Lack of money is one of them. The people that live in our prisons, who are incarcerated in our prisons, they need our prayers. Please pray for them. Please pray for us. Join our mailing list. There will be an email address that we would, on screen, we'd love you to sign up to our mailing list, and you'll receive news from us on 3 or 4 or 5 times a year. Yeah. Maybe some people out there are followers of Jesus and you believe that God has given you a passion for serving others and serving the least, the last and the lost. It's challenging work. It requires resilience, determination, patience, and a good deal of willingness to forgive people when they let you down, because that will happen. But if you would like to be a volunteer with Cornergate, we would love to hear from you. It's the most rewarding work, and these are amazing people who you will fall in love with.
How do you fund the work that you're doing? You've obviously got volunteers. There's obviously a cost involved in running courses and time that's needed to be dedicated to this. How does Cornergate get its money?
You're absolutely right. It does cost money to run Cornergate. It has very limited funds, but we have had 1 or 2 grants, and that has funded the pilot of the course that we're about to launch. We are trying to structure what we do so that it is possible to get funds through bids for grants and so on. And I think that is working, but it's slow progress. Lots of Christians and local churches. We contact a lot of Christians and local churches, and some of them support us. We have a mailing list, and that is one way that people can support us. You know, £10 a month, £20 a month makes a massive difference for us. If you can make a one-off gift to us, that would be wonderful. But regular donations make the most significant difference. And of course, that allows us to plan for the future and be sure that we will be here long after I retire.
So even if you're watching this today and you can't volunteer, you can't actually, don't have the time to get involved in that way, you can be part of the transformation by offering financial support, however big or small, because that is going to be part of the story of transformation for the people that you're going to meet tomorrow and offer help to.
Absolutely, and I hope that our newsletters would give you an understanding of how your money is making a difference. But if not, please invite us to your local church. Let us come and tell you the latest stories, because we've always got stories to tell.
Kim, thanks so much for coming to talk to us today, for having this chat. It's great to find out a little bit about your story and an update on what's been happening with you. We'd really like to encourage people to engage if they want to find out more, or if they are sitting there thinking today, look, I would love to be able to do something. I'd love to be able to play a part in the Cornergate story. Again, they can get in touch with you and have a conversation if they want to know a bit more about what's involved. And it sounds like there's some very exciting days ahead. Yeah, thanks very much for your time.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, David.
Nice to chat today.
Very good. Thank you.